podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K,
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick.
S-I-C-K, it's the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K, 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 S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur. Oh!
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Stanley pour les Canadiens, le 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Vida Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro on this Thursday, September 11. I will tell you that I was in Brossard earlier this morning where the Montreal Canadiens rookie camp, of course, is taking place. And I saw a couple of players that really impressed me, which I'll probably get to in just a couple of minutes. But we're going to get to Jimmy Murphy from RG Media in about a minute's time as well, because the story of the day, besides the fact of the rookie camp, and you know what, I'll say it right now, Ivan Demidov showing his hands on a couple of occasions, especially on this one. Look at this. Look how fast these hands are. Boom, boom, boom. So fast that you probably missed the goal. But anyway, his hands are like incredibly, incredibly fast. And, you know, Demidov did what the Canadiens, I think, are hoping that he will do in this rookie camp, with a couple of rookie games coming up on Saturday night at the Bell Center versus the Winnipeg Jets prospects, and on Sunday afternoon versus the Toronto Maple Leafs prospects. The Canadiens are hoping that Demidov is going to dominate, and he definitely looked like he was in a different category than all the other players that were on the ice today. The young players and the prospects were on one sheet of ice, of course, and most of the veterans or the other veterans were on another sheet of ice. And I can tell you that on the veteran sheet of ice, Patrick Laine is just looking so much better than he did a year ago. He looks in a lot better shape. He looks like he moves a lot faster. He looks like he's healthy. And he looks like he's energized, and he looks like he's 100%. Isn't that good news? And on the sheet of ice with the prospects, I have to tell you that David Reinbacher is moving a lot better than I saw him move last year with the Laval Rocket. And he too, like, seems to be, and once again, both of them, of course, suffered big injuries in camp, and both of them were operated, and both of them were out for quite some time. I believe Laine came back December 2nd or something like that, and I believe Reinbacher came back in the month of March. So you can understand that when they came back, they were not at 100%, and I'm telling you that they're both at 100% now. Isn't that good news? Speaking of news, there's never any shortage of it. The other day was Pat Brisson, Sidney Crosby's agent, who basically said, hey, you know what, asked about if Crosby will finish his career in Pittsburgh. And you said, at this point, I could tell you that anything's possible. And then he added, I definitely think that Sidney deserves to be in the playoffs. And the Pittsburgh Penguins have missed the playoffs for the last 3 seasons. And Crosby also talked about the love coming from Montreal and the fan base, and said, you know what, there's worse things in life than being loved from a fan base that's so passionate as Montreal Canadiens fans. So everyone knows the Montreal Canadiens are looking for a centerman, and probably by now the Boston Bruins know it too, because Jimmy Murphy had a story earlier this morning that a couple of teams have shown interest in a Boston Bruins player, in a Boston Bruins centerman. And Jimmy Murphy, RG Media, who wrote it for RG Media, but is also part of the Sick Media family with the Sick Podcast, The Eye Test, weekdays at 4 p.m. Eastern with Pierre Maguire. Jimmy's with me. Jimmy, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing, Tony?
I'm doing extremely well. Thank you very much, Jimmy. And the player in question is, we'll bring up your article, the front page. The Montreal Canadiens and Calgary Flames, among other teams, have shown interest this offseason in Bruins forward Pavel Zacha, but the Bruins aren't interested in selling yet. Jimmy, I'm going to start by saying this. I'm not surprised the Canadiens are interested in Zacha. because at 28 years old, he's got a real good age, prime years for him. 2 years left on his contract. Let's bring up his contract if we can.
Very
$4.75 million. It's very, very, very digestible. He'll be a UFA at the age of 30. And you know what? Pavel Zacha, of course, as you can see right now, for those who are watching on YouTube Live, Facebook Live, and Twitter Live, he was drafted by the New Jersey Devils in round 1, 6th overall back in 2015. And he played for the Devils for about, six and a half seasons. And he's played with the Boston Bruins for the last 3 seasons. Jimmy, first of all, talk to me about the player.
Look, I like this player a lot. I think he's a great two-way forward. Obviously, if you go check out his face-off stats, he's amazing at the dot. I think that may arguably, to me, for a team like Montreal, could be his biggest asset, besides the fact that he's a good two-way player. But, I mean, that face-off percentage is huge for them. But I like him. He's a good guy. He'll go wherever the coach asks him. He's been switched back and forth from center to wing throughout his career as a Boston Bruin, and even going back to his time with the New Jersey Devils. The question, though, and based on that, is what is he? Is he a center or a wing? I think he can play both. But, when we talk about what the Canadiens are looking for on the market, right? They want that prototypical second line center to give Suzuki a bit of rest, to give him a little depth behind him, and to transition into the bottom 6. I don't know if Zacha can do that on a full-time basis at the center position. However, even if that's the case, I think the fact that he's so good two-way, he can jump into the face-offs. You look at a guy, maybe you pair him with like in Demidov, right, who plays a little more like a center, in my opinion. And my colleague Marco D'Amico pointed this out to me, and I started to watch video of him and then watch video of Zacha. I think there could be some chemistry there. And I think whether he's completely a center the whole time or whether sometimes they switch him to a wing, I think they're looking at him as a perfect fit for Demidov. And I think that's where the attraction is when it comes from the Canadiens.
I want to bring up the Bruins forward lines courtesy of the website of dailyfaceoff.com. They have Elias Lindholm centering David Pastrnak and Morgan Geekie. They got Casey Middlestad down the middle with Arvidsson on his right and Zach on his left. Pardon me. They got Fraser Minton with Blumel and Tanner Janot. And then got Sean Corrali on a fourth line with Essimont and Beecher. So the graphic shows Zach on the wing. You just said he plays both. He's played both. He plays both. And you just said to me, I don't know really which one he is. A scout once told me that if a player plays center and wing, 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 he's not really a center.
That's kind of that's the one thing I've heard too, Tony. I think when you look at him, he just seems to be more comfortable. He seems to be more productive on the wing. And really the only time, now that we're talking about it, that I've seen him really thrive as a center is when he had a large dose of games with David Pastrnak. But Pasta is one of those wings, right? Usually it's a center that drives a line. Pasta is one of the rare wingers that can drive a line. And I think that's why, like usually a center can help a winger's game. In terms of Pasta, I think he helps anyone around him, and that's why he was able to succeed. But they just see a better fit there, obviously, with Lindholm. And that line with Geekie and Pasta last year was their most successful line. So they're not breaking that up. I think they like Middlestat and the playmaking skills he has up the middle. They don't necessarily like his size and physicality that they would like to see in a 2C. But that's why I think they're going to be starting the season there with Middlestat there and Zacha on the wing. So we'll see where it goes.
All right. So once again, Pavel Zacha, we brought up his hockey DB, about 6.5 years with the New Jersey Devils, last 3 seasons with the Montreal Canadiens, 2 years left on his contract at $4.75 million. I want to take excerpts of your article, and I hope by all means that even though we're showing it here and we're talking about it, that a lot of people are going to go to follow Jimmy Murphy on Application X, formerly known as Twitter, and follow Jimmy and follow his stories and the story that he put up on RG Media. But let's take a couple of here's one. While a trade doesn't seem to be imminent at this point, another source told RG that different trade scenarios have been discussed. While no names were confirmed, the source said that the Canadiens forward prospects Joshua Roy and Oliver Kapanen, as well as defenseman Jaden Struble, are names that continue to be bantered about in NHL trade chatter regarding the Canadian search for a second line center. I think these names don't shock me.
No.
Okay? They don't shock me. What surprises me a little bit, not a lot, but a little bit, is the willingness to probably trade Struble if that's the Canadiens that are offering. I don't know. Because, yes, Struble played less games than Xhekaj last year, but down the stretch, he was relied on a lot more. Once again, I think he played the last 10 games of the regular season, and he started the first 2 games of the playoffs. Yep. So, with that said, does that tell you that the Montreal Canadiens have decided that if there's going to be an odd man out on the blue line, it's going to be Struble and not Xhekaj?
That is the name I've heard the most during the offseason, Tony, in terms of Struble or Xhekaj. I don't know why. I don't have a reason for that. I have not heard that specifically from anyone in upper management with the Canadiens, but that is the name I've heard as opposed to Xhekaj is Struble throughout the offseason. And I think one of the reasons, you're right, you're going to have to choose between one of those. I think that's what it comes down to, right? Mm-hmm. For some reason, this is more coming from other teams that are talking to the Canadiens that maybe want to do a trade with them. I don't know what their reason is, but they seem to like Struble better. And maybe it's for what the reasons you just said of how impressive he was down the stretch. The fact he got a shot over Xhekaj in the first 2 games of the playoffs before Xhekaj came in. Maybe they saw something in him during that period. And then if you remember, during that period or right before it, when Xhekaj was still playing more, he was struggling and he was up and down. And maybe that was an effect. I'm not knocking the kid's game. I still think Xhekaj is going to become a great regular defenseman in the NHL. And whether that's with the Canadiens or another team, I don't know. But I think he has a spot on an NHL roster. But I also think Struble does. And I think at this point, maybe some scouts around the league just see a little more in him.
Well, all right. So listen, he's no stranger to the Boston Bruins. I think he grew up, 90 minutes from downtown Boston in Cumberland, Rhode Island. He obviously
right around where I am now, actually. I'm in Providence. So
is that right, eh?
Yep.
Played at for San Sebastian's, which is your former high school, I think.
Yep.
Then made his way to Northeastern. Kent Hughes knows him really well because obviously his boys played with him, are friends with him. Kent knows him really, really well. Mm-hmm. But Kent didn't draft him. But then again, he didn't draft Arbor Xhekaj either, right? Both Struble and Xhekaj were under the Marc Bergevin administration, right? I'm wondering if this is more so the Canadiens making him available or the Bruins wanting that, because I'm quite positive the Bruins saw him. He was in their backyard. Mm-hmm. He'd definitely be a player that they're interested in because they're probably saying, you know what? He's young. He's inexpensive. He's pretty much as close as a hometown boy as you can get. He'll probably wear the jersey with a lot of motivation. Mm-hmm. Xhekaj, by the way, was not drafted, but he was brought in when Marc Bergevin was there. Is this more so the Bruins being familiar with the Struble?
Yeah,
and or a combination of both. That they'd love to have him, but the Canadiens would be willing to give him up too.
I think this is more the Bruins. Like he's their target as opposed to the Canadiens. This is the guy we're offering out of the two. So I think it's more the Bruins looking at him as a trade target. And as you pointed out, they have so much familiarity with him. But you also made a great point there, Tony, and that's why that's why I want to stress that I don't think by any means are the Canadiens necessarily out there initiating talks when it comes to Struble. I think it's talks that have come to them. And I think the reason for that is that relationship with Hughes. I think Hughes really believes in this kid. And I think there is a chemistry there and a familiarity that I think if it comes down to it, might be tough for Hughes to part with him. So I think that's something we need to keep in mind if we get to a point, like I said in the article. I don't think this is anything that's imminent. It's something where the Bruins right now want to see what they have. And I think by American Thanksgiving, they're going to really have their roster fully evaluate and know, okay, are we still in a rebuild or are we in a retool? And they're going to decide their direction. And then you're going to start to either see a lot of guys exit that roster via trade, or you're going to see them move on and maybe become buyers themselves. So, but when it comes to Struble, I don't think this is a matter of the Canadians saying, okay, you're asking us about Jack Guy or Struble. Well, we're giving you one or the other. I just think this is more interest from the Bruins and from other teams.
All right. So right now there's interest, but they're not necessarily hungry for a deal. If you're hungry for a deal, eat well at Playground without breaking the bank. That's stuff of pros, Jimmy, by the way, that segue. Mondays, sink your teeth into a juicy 12-ounce ribeye steak with all the fixings, just $19. Tuesdays, dive into an all-you-can-eat Asian experience for only $25. Wednesdays, savor a 6-ounce bacon wrapped filet mignon with dessert for just $30. Thursdays, lobster, surf and turf, only $22. And Fridays at lunch, get any sandwich, burger, pizza, or main for just $7. Delicious, outrageous. Visit playground.ca for details. Also brought to you in part by Energy Transportation Group, a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. Driven to be different, a top fleet employer in Canada. Just ask Forbes magazine. I want to talk to you about Bittt Tibi. As you know by now, because I've been spreading the word, they launched their new Ultra Lager. It's a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer. Perfect for cool fall days, only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can. Available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing. I've been helping them sell so much beer. It's unbelievable. I should have asked for shares. All right, okay, Jimmy, let's go back now if we can.
Yeah.
You talked about American Thanksgiving. I want to talk to you about NHL trade deadline. Mm-hmm. But I also want to tell you, so I think the Bruins, by American Thanksgiving, this is just me looking at my crystal ball, will still not be able to determine whether or not they can get into the playoffs or not. Once you get to NHL trade deadline, and at that point, there's a month and a half left in the season, I think the Bruins will have a pretty good idea if they're going to make the playoffs, not make the playoffs, make a push, not make a push, probably make a push, but realize they're still not going to get in. Maybe realize they might get in, but they can't do damage with the team they have. I think it's going to go to trade deadline. But if Crosby's available at trade deadline, he becomes the big fish.
Oh, of course.
So I'm wondering if the Bruins, if they decide to trade Zacha, can get a lot more for Zacha if they trade him before the holiday freeze.
Yep. And I think that's, based on what I've been told, that's the idea there. And I think just in terms of the standings too, Tony, I think the Bruins know that maybe they overestimated with their team last year and I'll give him credit. I thought Donnie Sweeney did a great job at the trade deadline having all that happen at the last minute, but it was a last minute thing. They weren't ready to sell like they ended up doing at the deadline until maybe a week before, from all I'm told. I mean, this just came about and they said, oh, geez, we're not going to make it. This isn't going to happen. We have to accept that reality. I think that taught them a lesson where they're going to have to accept the reality a little earlier. And further to what you're saying too, if they have some guys who they think are going to be in competition with a superstar like Sidney Crosby on the trade market, it's obviously going to decrease their value if they wait. So this is something where I think they really want to determine, are we going to just keep getting younger, keep peddling off guys, trying to accumulate picks, trying to accumulate prospects, or are we going to make a run for it? And I think really this year they're going to face that a lot earlier than they did last year, and I think it will help them understand, hey, we got to get rid of Zacha now if we're going to do it, because if we wait to the deadline, like you said, we're not going to have that value we want.
Yeah, I want to bring up a couple of graphics if we can. We'll start back with the Zacha Hockey DB, the hockey database, right? And you'll notice that his best seasons in the National Hockey League actually came as a Boston Bruin, all right? As a matter of fact, his 3 best seasons in the National Hockey League came as a Boston Bruin, with his best season being in the 2023 season, 2022-2023, where he played all 82 games. He picked up 21 goals, 36 assists, 57 points. Actually, pardon me. And then the year after, which was 23-24, that was his best because he was able to pick up the same 21 goals and 59 points in 78 games, so 4 fewer games. And last year there was a drop-off, playing all 82 games, but going from 21 goals to 14, and from 38 assists the year before to 33, and from 59 points to 47 points. Players' numbers go up and down all the time, unless they're incredible players, models of consistency, Crosbys, the Kucherovs, the McDavids, the Dreisaitl's of this world. What's the reason for the drop-off in production in Zacha dropping off 7 goals and 5 assists last year?
Well, it's interesting, right? I want to first start back with that first year where he really came onto the scene and had a great year there in 22-23. Who were the centers in front of him?
Bergeron.
And Krejci. Right.
The two centermen that were there when they won the cup.
He was perfectly dropped down and slotted into the 3C slot, right? And I think on a contender, that's where he should be.
On a cup team. On a cup team,
he's a 3C, not a 2C. And that's why I referenced back to when we started this conversation that I'm not quite sure that's exactly what the Canadiens are looking for right now. I think he's better suited. If you're going to play him on the second or the first line, he's better suited on the wing. They put him on that first line a lot with Pastrnak in that following year when his point total went up from the record-breaking season with Bergeron and Krejci. But last year, look, did his play decline? Did he struggle? Yes. I'm not going to deny that. But you also have to factor in everybody struggled. Everybody dropped off a cliff when it came to the Boston Bruins last year. It was a disaster as the year went on. It started with the Swayman holdout, and that was it. And they were never the same. So I'm not going to pin a lot on that, and I can't judge him quite as much on last season as I can on the two seasons.
There's another way you can look at it, though, and the other way is, and like you just said, is he a 2C on a team that can win the cup? No, he's a 3. But the big question here is he a 2C ahead of Kirby Dach? And Kirby Dach, in the last 3 seasons, has not been healthy. Missed 25 games last season, missed 80 games the year before that, missed 24 games the year before that. In the last 3 seasons, Zach has missed 4 games.
Yeah.
Kirby Dach, once again, has missed 24, and 25 is 49, and 80 is 129 games. That's number 1. Number 2, in the last 3 seasons, Kirby Dach's career high in goals is 14. Zach has scored 21 twice. Number 3, in the last 3 seasons, Kirby Dach's career or high in points, which is his career high, is 38 points. Zacha had 59 and 57 in 2 of those 3 seasons. So you'd have to think that he would be an upgrade on what the Canadiens have right now.
Agreed. I definitely think he's an upgrade on what they have. But as we pointed out, and I'm not going to get into the Crosby thing, but there could be better upgrades available there. Maybe that's why something hasn't been done yet. Maybe that's why we're not where we are, and we don't see them pulling the trigger on a deal like this yet. Maybe they have a feeling they have a shot at something better than him. All I know is he's definitely on their radar. And if I don't know, I can't put names out there right now, but if you're going to look at the top 3 centers they've explored on the trade market, I think he's number 2. I'd have to imagine, and I don't know this for a fact, I'd have to imagine McTavish is number 1, right? So I don't know who that third guy would be, though. But you're right. I mean, he is an upgrade to what they have, and that's probably the attraction there. And as Marco D'Amico pointed out to me, and I agreed with him when he said it, it's also not the end of the world if he isn't the best 2C option, because if you put him with a guy like Demidov, we've seen him blend with playmakers like David Pastrnak.
Yeah.
Right. So if he can do that, if he can get that chemistry with Demidov, then maybe you have something there. And maybe that can kind of compensate for his deficiencies as a 2C.
Okay. So now one of the things you talked about, of course, is Zacha's success in the faceoff circle. He has won 47.9% of the time in his career. It's not a great number. It's not a bad number. Okay. The best faceoff players in the National Hockey League are probably about 10% higher. Mm-hmm. And the Canadiens have Nick Suzuki and Evans in the 50s, but Kirby Dach and Alex Newhook are usually below this number. So once again, for the Canadiens, he would be an upgrade in terms of faceoff percentage. And you know, the challenge that the Canadiens are going to have with Doc is if Doc doesn't improve in the circle and Liney and Demidov don't take draws for him because probably they're not better because they're wingers, at that point, you're going to be chasing all the time. Like you want to gain possession of the puck, especially since that line you would think will have more offensive starts than they will have defensive starts. They got to win their faceoffs. We're going to get to that in a second. It's a sick podcast. A shout out to Fruiterie Dillard, a family-run business, a mainstay in the LaSalle community since 1995. They're happy to support us. We're happy to support them. They're proud to continue offering the same fresh foods and flavors they have for the past 30 years. I've been going there for the past 30 years. From fresh fruits and produce delivered daily, I get my cactus pears there, I get my figs there, I get my cold cuts there, to an ever-expanding assortment of deli meats, cheeses, and sandwiches. I also get my Friulano cheese and my cheese and my caciocavallo as well. And sandwiches. You find personalized service and friendly faces that make you feel like family. And folks, you know, a lot of you are very appreciative that we offer free content. And the reason why you offer free content, once again, is because these sponsors that you're hearing are actually paying for the content for you. So it's an amazing thing that they're doing. And if you want to show some appreciation, something that would be important to us and very much appreciated by us would be, in turn, seeing as they support you with the free content, if you can support them in turn at their businesses, that would be great. Where are the Boston Bruins going to finish, in or out of the playoffs? And if you want to get on the action on the NFL or any sport for that matter, go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. First bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offer is only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Okay, so now I want to talk about Struble, and I want to bring up his hockey DB. All right. Okay. So there you have Jayden Struble, once again, drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, the Marc Bergevin regime at the time. Habs TV gave us some footage where he called him, this guy's a Greek god, he said. And we saw, images of him at, St. Sebastian's. And this guy would hold off two guys at the same time. Yeah. Very, very strong. We haven't seen him impose himself as physically as he can, I don't think. I think he's been rather shy in the National Hockey League over the last couple of years. I actually think this is a huge, huge year for coming up for Jayden Struble, who signed a 2-year contract at $1.412 million per year. He'll be an RFA at the end of those 2 years. Once again, he played 56 games for the Canadiens the last couple of seasons. He actually even played 2 games with the Laval Rocket last season. So he's one of the players that can interest the Boston Bruins. Another one, he's 24-year-old, by the way, left-handed defenseman. Now, let's bring up Joshua Roy. Joshua Roy, a 22-year-old left-handed winger, can play either wing, has played 35 games with the Montreal Canadiens over the last couple of seasons, has not been able to make the jump full-time. The Canadiens were looking forward to him having a great camp last year. He did not. So they sent him down to the Laval Rocket, where he scored 20 goals in 47 games. He had a good playoff with 10 points in 13 games. He's one player. Would the Boston Bruins be interested in a player like this, Jimmy, who you'd have to think, even though he showed at the World Juniors that he can be versatile, if he's not on your top 6, he's probably not an ideal candidate for anywhere between 7 and 12.
Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with you on that.
So is there an appetite for the Bruins to have this kind of player? Like, would he replace Zach on the wing if they go out and get him? Let's just say on that line.
I'm not sure about that. I think they may be looking more internal. They'd have to see what he can come in and do if he could seize that spot. But I think they have some guys they're looking at internally. I know a guy, they're going to use him, as we saw in the depth chart. They're going to use him right off the bat at center. And a guy they're high on is Fraser Minton, who they got in the trade for Brandon Carlo with the Toronto Maple Leafs at the deadline. I know they're really high on him. So this is, as Wah has to do right now currently with the Canadiens, yeah, I think he'd have to come in and earn that top 6 spot. I don't think he'd have an automatic slot right there, so to speak. But I think, if he came in and impressed the coach and the management staff, it's doable. Again, though, I want to stress, this is a guy's name who I haven't just heard specifically to the Bruins. Yeah. I've heard him mentioned in a lot of rooms. I'm sure you have as well, Tony, as we've heard the Canadiens search for a second-line center go on throughout the summer. So I don't know what the degree of interest is personally from the Boston Bruins right now, but I do know his name has been mentioned.
Let's bring back up daily face-off of the Boston Bruins one more time. Their depth chart at the forward position. Once again, Lindholm, middle stat, Minton and Sean Corrali up the middle. Another name brought up is Oliver Kapanen, who can play center and who can play wing. Who would Kapanen dislodge at the center ice position?
So here's another thing we should mention too. While we're talking about just strictly the center position here, they've got Casey Middlestat right there in the 2C slot, right? Casey Middlestat's name has been mentioned just as much, if not more, in trade rumors this summer. A lot of people around the league believe that, I'm not going to say he was a throw-in because that's insulting, but that the main target for the Bruins when they made that trade with the Colorado Avalanche to send Charlie Coyle to the Avalanche, their main target was the young Will Zellers, who is at the time not even in college yet. I believe he's playing at Shattuck St. Mary's. He's a highly offensive, gifted kid. I forget where he's headed. I want to say it's North Dakota. Apologies that I don't know off the top of my head. But that was their main target, and then Middlestat became part of the deal. So there's a speculation there that they're not necessarily quite in love yet with Middlestat. And he's another guy I think they're going to be monitoring closely as the season begins and up until about American Thanksgiving or the holiday trade freeze. That's why I see my feeling, my gut is that if he really seizes the moment, Minton slides into that 2C slot. I don't know what happens to Middlestat, but I see Minton going in there.
I looked it up, by the way. You were right. He was with Boston University in 2023. He's committed to the University of North Dakota for the 2025-2026 season.
I knew there was a different. I knew he was originally with BU. Okay. So what I'm saying, though, when it comes to a guy like Kapanen to me makes a lot of sense and where the Bruins are going under this new system of Marco Sturm. His game reminds me a lot of him. I see a lot of Marco in him, and I think that he's going to like him a lot if he ever got him on his roster. So I could see the Bruins, and more specifically Sturm, seeing Kapanen as one of these guys they can flip-flop up and down between the second line and the third line in their middle six. And that's why I think he might have a little more value right now to the Bruins than the other guys we were discussing there. So,
all right, Jimmy, why don't we, so once again, these are names that you're hearing on the market. You're hearing the name of Joshua Roy, Oliver Kapanen, Jaden Struble. I'm not shocked by any of this. I mean, with all due respect to Struble, right now he's a 6. With all due respect to Oliver Kapanen, we don't even know if he's going to make the team as a 12 or a 13 or start the season with the Laval Rocket. And with all due respect to Joshua Roy, it'll be very hard for him to find the seat, even though we're hearing he's in great shape, the best shape of his life. Will he make the Montreal Canadiens? That's not a certainty either. Once again, you think that if the Boston Bruins trade this player, they'll trade him around when exactly? Because we know that we know the Penguins, if they do anything, they're doing it around trade deadline.
Right. So I'm with you. I think it's imperative that if they're going to do it, they do it earlier. And I feel like it would be somewhere between American Thanksgiving and the holiday freeze before Christmas there. So, and the other thing I want to stress to Tony, in terms of names you're hearing about the Canadiens, you're right. These aren't stunning names, right? And that's because, as you know, and most of your fans here and listeners and viewers probably know, the Canadiens are being very protective of their young core right now. And they've let that be known. So it's going to be kind of a knock your socks off type deal for somebody to pry away, a young player like, let's say, a Cole Caulfield or somebody younger than him. It's going to be a knock your socks off type deal. And could I see one of those guys being moved in a deal for Mason McTavish? Definitely. I definitely do, because I think the Anaheim Ducks aren't going to just give away Mason McTavish. Yeah. And that's why he's not moved yet. From what I heard, on top of a solid roster player, someone the other day told me they're asking for 2 first-round draft picks.
I don't know why the Anaheim Ducks would trade Mason McTavish. I know that pretty much every team in the National Hockey League would want to have him. Jimmy, be remiss if I didn't ask you about this. It's pretty big news. The 5 players, of course, that were acquitted. Elliot Friedman told us earlier today, Shane Gaumont, Master Control, if you have it, if you can bring it up.
Yep.
Not so sure that we have it. Okay. Do we have it? We probably don't. But anyway, the 5 players acquitted in the 2018 World Junior Trial will be suspended until December 1st. And they can sign with interested NHL teams on October 15.
Yep.
Yeah.
Look, I this is a very delicate situation, obviously. And, I'm not going to get into all my thoughts on it. But what I'll say is, and I know they're going to get a lot of heat, and I think they're just kind of the PA and the league are in a no-win situation with this. I think from what I know behind the scenes, the way they conducted their own investigation, the fact that they continue to say look, they were found innocent, and we respect that. And that's why we're going to give them a second chance. But by no means are we condoning the actions that we learned through this case, through our investigation that took place from these players. By no means are we accepting that. And it totally goes against what we stand for as a league. So, I had a feeling that like they weren't going to keep him out forever. Is a little sooner than I thought, maybe. But, it's a tough situation. And I think with everything considered, I think the league and the PA have done the best they could.
Yeah. And Jimmy, you're absolutely right about that. And you know what? Once again, I want to finish with this, of course. The date today is September 11 and 2001. And my God, it just seemed like yesterday where the world changed forever. But remembering all the victims and their family and friends on this one of the saddest days in the history of the world, September 11th. So
I'll show you my a shirt. My daughter actually got this for me last year because I lost about 13 friends that day. So she knew how much this day means to me. And, I'm definitely thinking of a lot of people out there.
You lost about 13 friends that day?
Yeah.
Wow.
13. Because I lived in Long Beach. Tony, when I got out of school, the first job I took was as a post-grad intern with the New York Islanders. My friend that I grew up with, he was like a big brother to me, is now a former Anaheim Ducks coach, Greg Cronin, who's with the Iowa Wild now.
Yeah.
He was the assistant with the Islanders, got me a job with their PR department. So I lived in a place called Long Beach, New York. It was just outside of Queens. Great place if you ever get the chance. If you're down there, it's on Long Island. It's right on the border. Long story short, the whole town is either NYPD or firemen. And so they lost a lot of people in that town that day. And I knew a lot of them because I bartended there. They would always come to where I bartended. So it's a tough day to this day. And ironically, Tony, that was the first day for me on the Bruins beat. It was my first day. And I was driving up to training camp was opening that day. And as I'm going up the highway on 93, we get a call. I mean, we already knew what was going on, but they hadn't called anything off. But I was on my way up and they said, turn around, go home. We're not letting media in today. We'll send you a schedule. So it was a tough day. It was a surreal day. But I'll tell you one thing, not to rant here, but, there's a lot of other stuff going on right now, unfortunately, in my country.
Yes.
I hope that people can reckon back to the days after 9/11, because in my lifetime, at least for 3 months after 9/11, I've never seen my country more unified.
Yeah.
And, if there's any silver lining, that's what it was. And I hope we can find that again.
Of course, and obviously everyone knows what you're alluding to. It was yesterday was another very, very sad day. It was a tragic day, doesn't matter, your political beliefs. I mean, a human life is a human life, and
all in this together.
And you're absolutely right about that. Let's go out with this, Jimmy. Once again, a graphic, if we can. September 11, remembering 9/11, 2001. And let's not forget that it impacted the entire world, including the hockey world, and the Los Angeles Kings, who lost Garnet Ace Bailey and Mark Davis, both members of the LA Kings, who were on that United Airlines Flight 175. So thinking of them and thinking of all the victims and their friends and their families. And once again, our prayers go out to them every day, but especially remembering them on September 11. Thank you, Jimmy.
My pleasure.
And thank you to all of our sponsors. And thank you for all of you watching. It's a Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. Bittt, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.